Welcome, I'm Valerie Hector, and in this brief tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a Chinese beaded bicone. Okay, where did this technique begin? It all began many years ago when I bought this cute little beaded pig in China. He or she actually stands. I think this was meant as a cell phone charm, maybe, or just a decorative hanging. Well, I knew I couldn't use this in my work, being a piglet, or at least I wasn't inclined to. That's not really my style. So by dropping a couple of rows, I created this, which is what I'm calling the Chinese beaded bicone. Now, here's a quick preview of the rows involved. There are only 5 rows. This is super easy. If you've taken my tutorial on the Chinese beaded oval, you will understand how easy this is, okay? Row 1, both of these represent row 1. Row 1 is a hexagonal ladder, okay? It starts as a ladder that's 7 rings long, okay? By adding the 8th ring, we turn this into a circle, okay? Or a tube, you could call it. Row 2 is just 8 rings of 5 beads, okay? Very, very simple. And then reinforce, all right? Row 3 is 4 rings of 5 beads and then seal around the top. That's all there is to it. Rows 4 and 5 are just a repeat of rows 2 and 3, okay? Piece of cake, right? And this is what you end up with. I did stitch 1 bead at the top here, okay, in the open space here, and 1 bead at the bottom. It brings it to a nice point. I love this point, okay? And then eventually I finished the structure by adding an earring cap. Now, knowing I was going to add an earring cap, I left off one of these tip beads, okay, and kept the other one. So there it is, super simple, super fast. These are American-made metal beads, size 8/0, perfect for this technique, okay, fantastic. All right, I'll see you in the next video where we'll quickly do row 1, all right? Okay, row 1, fast and easy, 7-ring hexagonal ladder. Add 1 ring, turn it into a circle or a tube. So the first step is string 6 beads, bring them down to the end of your thread, okay? You can form a knot if you want to turn these 6 beads into a ring, but I generally don't add a knot because the knots tend to clog bead holes, right? So there we are, ring 1. Now we're going to reinforce it. And I'll just reinforce it once for the purposes of this video, so we can move kind of fast through the steps. But it would be a good idea for you to reinforce it 2 or 3 times, okay? You can do the reinforcing now, you can do it later, after this ring is finished, or after this is finished, the ladder. Okay. And now we're going to go back through any bead at all. It doesn't matter. We want to get into position to add ring 2. Doesn't matter where we start adding ring 2 from. Does not matter. Okay. One of the beads is already in place for ring 2. That's this bead. So we're just going to add 5 beads. Going to go back through the bead we just came out of, okay, and pull. So now we have 2 rings of 6 beads, okay, sharing 1 bead each. Let's reinforce once quickly so that this ring is well formed, not gonna, come apart on us later. And now we're going to go back up, navigate upwards to the topmost bead in ring 2. That's this bead. Let's go through this bead. Just 1 bead, getting into position to add ring 3, okay? Excuse me, string 5 beads, all right? Go back through the same bead you just came out of, like this. All right, beautiful. And that's ring 3. Now go on until you have added 7 rings. Okay, I'm going to let you keep stitching, and I'm going to show you after this how to seal up the ladder, how to turn it into a circle or a tube. Okay, so 3 rings of 6 beads. I want you to go on and add until you have 7 rings of 6 beads. When you have 7 rings of 6 beads, point your needle so that it comes out of the top bead here. Okay, and I'll see you in the next video. Turning your ladder into a circle or a tube. Okay, you've got your 7-ring ladder. Hopefully you've reinforced it a few times. If not, you can reinforce it after it's turned into a circle. Okay, here's how I do it. I learned this so many years ago as called a daisy chain, I think. And this is how I learned to do it. I'm going to show it to you. You're welcome to do it any way you want. But this way I never made a mistake, because it's easy to make a mistake, you know, when you're just getting started as a beginner in beading. Okay, I just added 2 beads. I was coming out of here. I added 2 beads. I inserted the needle through here. Okay, I added 2 more beads. I generally stretch them out. I situate them like this so I can see, yes, I've definitely added 2 beads on each side. And then I go back through this bead here. And by pulling, we turn the ladder into a tube like this. Reinforce a few times the ring you just added, which is ring number 8. Okay. And then when I'm done reinforcing ring 8, if I haven't reinforced the ladder enough while I was making it, say, I don't know, depends on the size of the holes in your beads, but with using these metal beads, size 8, you know, I'd reinforce 3 or 4 times. Why? Because this forms the center of the beaded bicone. And we want it to be stable and firm so that when someone, like a customer, for instance, picks it up, it's nice and firm, okay? And that happens when we reinforce well, all right? So let's say that we've reinforced well, and now we're going to get into position to add row 2. Getting into position to add row 2 means coming up through any bead at all in the upper right hand corner of a ring of 6 beads. Okay, you're splitting 2 of the top beads, okay, by coming up through just this 1 bead, right? And now we're in position to start adding row 2. I'll see you in the next video. Row 2. Row 2 is just 8 rings of 5 beads, okay? Now in the last video, we were coming up out of this bead here, right? The upper right-hand corner bead in a ring of 6 beads. Doesn't matter where you start. Building row 2 doesn't matter at all, okay? And then you string 3 beads, okay? Because we know these are all going to be rings of 5, not rings of 6, okay? To create a ring of 5, we go through this bead here, okay? And then pull. So that becomes the first ring in row 2. The finished row 2 will look like that, okay? Now we go up through this bead, pull, and we want to get into position to add the second ring. Go through this bead, excuse me, go through this bead. And now we're in position to build ring 2. Now 3 beads are already in place for ring 2, so we're just going to add 2 beads, okay? And go down through this bead here, okay? and then pull. That's all there is to it. We're going to navigate over to get into position to add ring 3. Okay. And we're just going to add 2 more beads. Form a ring of 5 beads by going down through this bead, over, go over, keep going to get into position to add ring 4. Great. Now we're in position to add ring 4. I feel like I want to wax my thread. I feel like it's about to kink at any minute, you know? Great. Now we're in position to add ring 4. So we're going to add 2 beads here. Form a ring of 5 beads by going down through this bead. And now navigate over to get into position to add the next ring. Okay? So now you can just watch. I'm going to pause when I finished adding ring 7. And you'll see why in a second. Maybe you already know. Okay, so now 7 of the 8 rings of 5 beads are in place. I'm going to navigate over to add the 8th ring, to complete the 8th ring. 4 beads out of the 5 beads of ring 8 are already in place. So, see, here they are, 1, 2, 3, 4. So all we have to do is add one bead, and then go through that one, form one last ring of 5 beads, okay? I'm sorry, this tail is getting in the way. As tails want to do, close up the ring if you can. Go through this. There we go. All right. Now, it's a really good idea to go around row 2 a few times with your thread to reinforce it, okay? Especially if your holes are generous, you know, the holes are generous in these pink metal beads made in America, size 8. All right, so I advise you go around, reinforce each bead in this row 2 or 3 times anyway, okay? When you're done reinforcing, bring your needle out of any bead at the top of a ring of 5, like that, okay? And I'll see you in the next video. Okay, row 3. This is what row 3 will look like when it's added. Okay, coming out of row 2, having finished row 2 and reinforcing row 2, we have our needle coming out of any bead here, any top bead in a ring of 5, doesn't matter which one. Now, instead of just having one bead, going through one bead, we're going to go through 2, okay? Go through these 2 and then add 3 beads. There are only 4 rings of 5 beads in this row. They're really fast and easy to add. To complete ring 1, we're adding 3 beads, okay? And then going back through the 2 beads we just came out of, okay? And pull. See, we've got our first ring of 5 beads in place. All right, now we're coming out of this bead here. We're going to cross over 2 beads like this, okay? And now we're in position to add the second ring, okay? The second ring only needs 2 beads to be completed because 3 beads are already in place. That's 1, 2, 3. So we only need 2. So let's form the next ring of 5 beads, okay? Go through the 2 beads we had just come out of, and then go through 2 more, okay, like this. This puts us in position to finish ring 3. Okay, ring 3 only needs 2 beads to be finished. Go through this. Go through the 2 beads we just came out of. And then go through 2 more, okay? Now, we're almost in position to add ring 4. Ring 4 already has 4 beads in place, okay? So we only need to add 1 more. To do that, let's get in position by going up through this bead here, okay? Pull. And string 1 bead. Go down through this bead here. And then close up the ring by going through the 2 beads we first came out of, okay? Now we need to stitch around the 4 beads at the top of row 3. So let's navigate up to get into position to do that. So I'd stitch around them a few times. Again, it depends on the sizes of the holes in your beads, but you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 times if you have generous holes. 5 times isn't too much, okay? I would probably also definitely reinforce row 3 as I'm stitching up the top of row 3. Okay, so you get the idea, okay? The more you reinforce, the better formed your structure is, the firmer it is, okay? There's no right or wrong way to reinforce, all right? And at this point, I might decide to add the bead that forms the tip, you know, this bead right here. There's no right or wrong way to add this bead. You just want to get it to sit straight if you can. There's different ways to do it. One way is to come out of this bead here and stitch across to this bead here. That's just one way, okay? And that certainly works. And then you would just reinforce it, okay? So reinforce everything, make sure this is strong, and then turn it over and do the same thing again. So add 8 rows of 5 beads, and then add 4 rows of 5 beads, and then seal up the tip, right? So that's all there is to it. And in the next video, I will show you a couple of variations, and you'll be able to invent your own too once you see these. Okay? See you in the next video. Okay, let's talk about some variations. These are only 2 of the probably dozens of variations that you can come up with, okay? Variation number 1. What did I do here? I just added an extra row of 6 beads, okay? The pig that we first saw has 3 rows of 6 beads, right? And you can also do 2 rows of 6 beads. So that's variation number 1, really pretty. Variation number 2 involves stitching on Preciosa pearl beads, 4mm these are. Let me show you very quickly. You probably already know how to do this, but let me just show you. I'm coming out of this ring of 6 beads here, I want to go back through the opposite ring of 6 beads. Okay, I have added a pearl. The pearl is going to stay there. Probably what's most important now is to straighten out the hole on the pearl so that it wants to sit horizontally. Right now it's sitting vertically, right? We want to get it to sit horizontally. That may not happen right away, but at least we're going to be aware that we want the hole in the pearl bead to sit horizontally. All right, let's pick up another one. And let's go right back straight through the middle to this other pearl here. Gently pull, okay? Now is when we might be able to get this hole situated more horizontally. Why? So it doesn't show, okay? So the hole isn't the first thing that viewers see. Now we're going to go down through that same ring of 6 beads across to the other ring, okay, and pull. And sure enough, the hole in this pearl is sitting more horizontally, which is good. You know, that keeps it tidy and not showing itself, okay? Let's go back through this one here. And you've probably already noticed that stitching these on, I'm using white thread for stitching these on, right? Okay, now this time I'm going to come out of a different hole, if I can. Well, I may have to go across to this one. You get the idea, okay? Now I'm going to insert my needle through this ring of 6 here and get in position to add another pair of pearls. I'm going to go right across to the opposite ring of 6 beads and add another pearl. Obviously, you don't have to add a whole bunch of pearls. You can just add a few. But, you know, I'm aiming towards adding 8 pearls here because there are 8 rings of 6. All right, I'm reorienting the hole in the pearl so that it can be horizontal, or as horizontal as possible. Okay, reorienting the hole, excuse me, getting it to be more horizontal. Coming out through this one here, this ring of 6 beads here. Now this one is sitting kind of funky. I don't know what's going on exactly, but you can put your needle back through the hole in the pearl bead and kind of straighten it out. That's better. For sure, that's better. All right, so we're coming out of this ring of 6 beads. Let's add a pearl. You know, adding the pearls gives a nice, soft, feminine touch to this structure, which I really love. It's a perfect embellishment. Go through the opposite ring of 6 beads, add another pearl. Go back through. Great. Adjust the hole so that it sits horizontally, okay? Oops. I feel like something is a little bit funky there, but I'm not sure what it is. Anyway, you get the idea. You'll certainly be able to do this with your own beaded bicone, just to embellish it, make it a little more interesting. Okay. Let's straighten out this hole if it isn't already. Yeah, it's sitting at the top. We want to make it sit at the side like that. Okay. You get the idea, right? Look at this. I love this. It really emphasizes the biconical shape. It emphasizes the center, the equator, right? A beautiful structure. I mean, hardly takes any time at all to make. All right. Thank you for coming by, and I'll see you in the next video.